If you're struggling with planning your ESL movie lesson plan, I totally understand. So here is my entire movie lesson plan that you can copy and paste for your own lessons. Let me show you exactly how to do it. Hi, my name is Megan. I have been an ESL teacher in China for over 10 years. I'm also getting my PhD in education, and I care so much about helping other teachers have actionable, practical lesson plans so that they can be better teachers and their students can learn better. Movies sounds like such a fun topic, but in my experience, I found it a little bit difficult to plan a lesson because there's just so much that you could possibly talk about. And I feel like textbooks only focus on the different genres of movie. They just teach, sci-fi and romance and action, but that's kind of boring. And it's also not the only thing that we talk about when we talk about movies. So here is my entire lesson plan that is engaging, interesting, but it's also practical and more connected to what vocabulary people actually use when they're talking about movies. First, we need a warm up. That way students are talking immediately in English. Let's keep this one super simple because the rest of our lesson might be a little bit complicated. Let's keep the warm up simple. All you have to do is talk about your favorite movie. So I have a couple questions on the board. What is your favorite movie? When did you first watch it? How many times have you seen it? Why is it your favorite? Who's a famous actor or actress in the movie? Can you describe the plot? Describe the story? This is a super easy warm-up. It's something that everybody can talk about because everybody has seen a movie before. However, I have found when I ask students, what is your favorite fill in the blank? So many times the students will just say, oh, I don't have a favorite, and then just sit there. So now, anytime there's anything about favorite, I will say it doesn't have to be your number one favorite. I tell them, I don't have a favorite movie, just choose one. Remember everybody, the goal for our class is to practice speaking in English. So I give a caveat, it doesn't have to be your favorite movie. Just name a movie that you really like. You can still complete all the questions. When did you first watch it? How many times have you seen it? Who's a famous actor in it? What's the storyline? Why did you like it? Etc. One thing I do love about this warm-up is that it can be really short or really long. It's fully customizable. If I don't have a lot of time, then I just keep it simple. What's your favorite movie? Why do you like it? But if I want to encourage students to chat a little bit more, talk a little bit more, then I add all of those additional supporting questions, and students can talk about this for 5, 6, plus minutes. After we finish the warm-up, then I like to move into the actual teaching portion where we're studying vocabulary words, we're working through the textbook, we're working through grammar exercises, we're working through listening exercises, we're reading, we're writing, we're doing whatever your textbook says that you should be doing during this lesson. So customize this according to your textbook and your students. Then it's time to move into speaking activities, and today I have 3 different ones to share with you. Number 1, I always want to push my students to be more creative. So this one is rewrite the ending of a popular movie. Now this is not my idea. I got this idea from Real Rap with Reynolds, but every time I've done it, it has been so fun. His original idea was to rewrite the ending of the Titanic. Easy, right? Everybody has heard of the Titanic. Everyone knows the story. You can make it a happy ending. You can make it a sad ending. You can make it a dramatic ending. The last time I did this, my students had so much fun with it. They were so creative. They had aliens coming down and saving everybody on the ship. They had Jack and Rose getting separated and falling in love with different people. They had so many creative ideas. But if you don't want to use the Titanic, just use another really popular movie. If you know your students, you know what they're into, give them another movie. However, I don't advise letting the students choose their own movie. Whenever I've done that, they just waste so much time considering which movie they want to choose. I found it's easier to just give everybody the same movie. Also, after you have students rewrite the ending, then you can have them share with everyone else. And I've found that it works a little bit better if everybody is doing the same movie. They enjoy it a lot more. So choose a really popular movie, like the Titanic. Tell the students that they have to rewrite the ending. I usually run through the movie really quickly. What happens in the Titanic? We all know that, right? You know, Jack is poor when he goes on the ship and he meets Rose and they fall in love, but do her parents approve? No. And I run through it really quickly, give everyone a refresh on what happens during the movie. Then I tell them to be creative. I say anything can happen. It can be a happy ending, it can be a sad ending, it's up to you. Give students chances to think of new ideas, but also communicate what happens. This is pretty simple as well. It can be done using very simple vocabulary words. It sounds complicated, but it's actually quite good for lower level students. After students have a thought of their new ending, you can always have them share their ideas. You can have students come to the front of the class and explain it. You can have them turn to another group and express their ideas. Here's a bonus tip. You could even have the students reenact the ending. So rather than just verbally explaining and then this happens, have them act it out, have them actually write dialogue for this. I have both done this in class and I've also done this as a homework activity as well. Give the students ample time to figure out exactly what they want to say, how to describe their lines, then have them come up to the front and present, or give it as a homework assignment and the next class they get to come up and present their ending for everyone else. When I tell you, this is so much fun. The students enjoy it, you enjoy it, they're using English, they're speaking in English, and they're also being creative as well. The second speaking activity is a discussion question, which I think it's great to balance the different types of speaking activities because the language that you're going to use is quite different. Telling me what happens at the end of the Titanic is quite simple. You can use simple grammar, simple vocabulary words. However, when you have a discussion on a complex question, you have to really consider how to express your ideas in a clear and coherent way. So the discussion question is, should all movies have a happy ending? And you would think that you're gonna get the same types of answers to this question, but every time I've done it, students have shocked and surprised me with the plethora of ideas that they have and the different angles they go at this question with. Some students say, absolutely, life is hard enough. We should always have a happy ending at the end because people use movies as escapism. They use it for entertainment. Other students say that it's not realistic of daily life and watching someone else go through a difficult hardship can maybe make you feel seen or make you consider someone else's life or have more empathy for other people. So I found this is a really great discussion activity. It also follows well after the Titanic, if you choose that, because the Titanic has this happy, sad, bittersweet type ending, and they just decided if they wanted to make that ending happy or if they wanted to make the ending even sadder than the original. Speaking practice number 3 is so fun, and a lot of my students have told me that they've never done a speaking exercise quite like this one. When we think about movies, we gotta think about the Oscars. So we talk about the Oscars and we have our own Oscars in class. If students aren't familiar with what the Oscars are, I'll show them a picture of the award show. Once they see the award, then they know what we're talking about. It's the top award for movies. I tell the students that today we are going to have an Oscar ceremony in class. And you know, sometimes when you see that a movie won an Oscar, you think, I don't agree. I don't think that movie was that good. So today is your chance to decide which movies you think deserve an Oscar. Now I tell them that this is all their opinion. This is important because in the past when I haven't said this, students just kind of clam up and they will try to search online or they'll try to think about what the right answer is. What should win the Oscar? That's not what we're doing here. This is not that serious. It's just your opinion. In your opinion, what do you think the best romance movie is? It doesn't matter if you're right or wrong. It doesn't matter if your partner agrees or disagrees with you. What do you think? That's all that matters. Because when we're talking about movies with people, yeah, sure, sometimes we do use genre words like, I like sci-fi, I like romance. But to be honest, most of the time we are talking about the movie and talking about what we enjoyed about it or what we didn't enjoy about it. And sure, we might mention that it's a horror movie or that it's a thriller, but we spend more time describing the characters, describing the plot, describing how we felt about the movie. And I find a lot of textbooks miss that point. They miss what actually is being said and used in real life. So here's how we do the Oscars. I will give the students a list of different Oscar awards, and they have to discuss with their partner and choose one movie for each of the awards. Now, I did just say this is all about your opinion. There is no right or wrong answer. But the reason that I want two people working together and two people together have to decide one movie is because this is the moment where students get to express their ideas. If they're working alone and working independently, then I can just think, okay, I think Fast and Furious is the best action movie. I think Titanic is the best romance movie, and I just write it down. But when I'm working with someone else and I say, hey, I think Fast and Furious was the best action movie, and they say, no, are you kidding me? I really don't like those movies. I think Mission Impossible is better. Then we now have to explain and express what we liked and what we didn't like about those movies. That's that real life situation, the real life scenario that we're trying to mimic. That's what we really want. We want that discussion, that back and forth, the sharing of opinions, sharing of ideas. If we're gonna have the Oscars, we need to choose our categories. So what are our categories? Now, when I first started doing this, I would choose categories like Best Actor, Best Director, Best Actress. But to be honest, they're kind of boring. And I found that students would get kind of in their head about, okay, well, what's the best director? What does that even mean? Maybe younger students aren't exactly sure what a director even does. I found that with older students, with adults, they do get this a little bit better, but my advice is to change the categories to something a little bit more fun. It also helps reinforce this idea that it's not serious, okay? Just choose anything, it's fine. So instead, choose categories like Best Story or Best Romance. You can definitely choose something like Best Action as well. Best Surprise Ending, Best Kiss. Those are way more interesting and lend themselves to more interesting discussions. For example, Best Surprise Ending or Best Romance Story. Those are a little bit more back and forth. Why do you think that ending was better than this ending? And we can kind of talk about it rather than who do you think is the better actor? Him or him. It leads to less discussion. So my advice is to get a little bit creative with the categories. Best surprise ending, best storyline. I do actually like best CGI as well. All right, now that students have chosen their top hits, it's time for us to vote. We need to find out which is the best movie among all of us. So I will have students call out a couple of their suggestions for each of the categories and write it on the board. Then we'll go through them together and I'll have students clap or cheer for the one that they want to vote for. This is just a really fun way to interact with what they actually have created and actually give awards for different movies. Now, something I want to mention that I haven't mentioned thus far is you might find that students are a little bit hesitant when it comes to this because they just don't know the names of the actors or the names of the movies in English. That is definitely a hiccup that you're going to come across. Maybe students are thinking about Avatar as the best CGI movie, but they only know how to say Avatar in their native language. They don't know how to say it in English. So maybe you don't let your students use their phones in class normally. Maybe just for today, make an exception for this category because I think it's quite helpful to learn the names of movies in English. If you actually are having a conversation with a native speaker about movies and you don't know the English names of any of the movies, how well do you think that conversation is going to go? You're going to hit stalemate, 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 stalemate as you're trying to communicate because the other person is saying a movie you don't recognize and you're saying a movie that they don't recognize. There's a breakdown of communication there. Does this mean that students need to learn the English names of every actor in every movie? No, that's ridiculous. But learning the names of some of the most popular actors or the most famous movies could be quite helpful. For example, when I do this and we talk about CGI, almost everyone chooses Avatar, and congratulations, now they have learned the word Avatar because that's a really famous, very well-known movie. Another thing I love about this though is the fact that it's pushing students to understand that they can discover the language by themselves. Too often, students only rely on me. They rely on their class time. They rely on their teacher to hand pick the information and give it to them so that they will learn it. But lifelong learners need to learn how to research and search and find out things for themselves, especially how to learn things that are most connected to their daily life. And I tell students this, today, use your phones in class to search the names of movies, because guess what? Anytime you're struggling with how to say something in English, unless you're taking an exam, you can grab your phone and you can search it. If you're in the real world, a lot of times you have the chance to grab your phone and search for something. It also creates this feeling of curiosity about the world around them. I encourage my students all the time that, when you go to a restaurant and you see some food on the table, think, do I know how to say that in English? If you don't, grab your phone and just do a quick search. It's a great way to bring English into your daily life and encourage this curiosity about the language and encourage lifelong learning. It's also great because students are learning the names of not every movie, but the ones that are important to them, the ones that they're going to talk about, the favorite movies they have, or the most popular movies. I always tell my students, if you're not interested in basketball, don't worry about learning 50 vocabulary words about basketball. You're probably not going to talk about basketball very much in English if you're not interested. If that is your favorite hobby and your favorite sport and you watch it and you play it all the time, then yeah, spend more time learning vocabulary words about basketball, because those are the things you're actually going to talk about when you're using English. The last thing we have to talk about is homework. Let me give you 3 different homework ideas that you can use. The first one is to write a review of a movie. It can be any movie. Let them choose a movie that they liked or that they didn't like. The goal for this is having students, 1, describe the movie. Maybe they're describing the plot, describing what happens, but then they're also sharing their opinion. This is their chance to express their ideas clearly and coherently. It's also their chance to use more adjectives to describe their feeling. How did they feel when they were watching it? How did the characters feel when something happened? The second homework assignment is all about adjectives. I love to use this one when we've been focusing on adjectives for the last few weeks or even for that whole semester. So for this one, have students describe a movie character. They get to describe the appearance, or they get to describe the personality, how they react to different things. It's a great way for them to include more examples of adjectives and focus on describing their impression of someone as well. The third homework assignment is a really fun one, a really simple one. Encourage the students to watch a movie or a TV show and write down 5 vocabulary words they learned from it. I know our topic is all about movies, but to be honest, I don't usually try to choose a movie as an assignment, because how long are movies these days? 2 hours, 3 hours? An episode of a TV show, though, is a little bit more realistic. Also, if you're watching a movie for 2 hours, you're going to learn more than 5 vocabulary words, but a 20-minute TV show episode, that's a little bit more reasonable. I also really like this one because students are studying words outside of the textbook. They're not just sticking to the professional technical words in the textbook. They're listening to real native speakers and listening to the actual words that we use in daily communication with other people. So just have them write down the name of the movie or TV show, write down 5 words that they learned from it. Again, we're also pushing the students to be independent learners. They're learning these things by themselves because they're watching the TV show in their own time and discovering, what do I know and what don't I know? And that's it. That's my ESL movie lesson. Now, to be honest, I have more of these because I've taught this lesson so many times in so many different ways. So if you'd like to see that, just leave a message in the comments down below. If you have any questions, you can also leave that down below. If you'd like to check out more videos, I have tons of other lesson plan ideas about teaching. You can check those all out on the channel. You can also check out the website, atlasteaching.com. If you liked this video, you might like one of my other videos about food or about travel or about music. So check those out. I'll leave them linked in the cards down below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope your movie lesson goes perfectly.